I want people to look at it and go, oh, if he could do it, I could see myself in that, so I can do it too. And like you said, there's a few different schools of thought on how you can do it. Sometimes you can be like the guru or expert that everyone's like, wow, I can only
Yeah.
dream of being like that.
Yeah.
And you'll influence some people, and some people will follow because they think you're so well knowledge that you're the
Yeah.
only way. But I think, like you said, with social media nowadays, people are resonating much more with, hey, come along for the ride, or like, I'm not perfect, but this is what I did. Come learn from what I'm doing. And it just seems so much more easy to take that like small steps forward when someone's going with that approach. So that's kind of what I want.
Welcome to the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Kidd, where every week we dive deep into conversations with real estate pros, business owners, and maritime professionals about their mindset and journey to success. Please help support us on our journey and our channel by liking, subscribing, and commenting below so we can help you on yours. You know, all the times that, well, you know, what's going to happen after, because it's not a matter of if it ends, it's when it ends, you know, and it's going to end at some point. And, you know, the jobs go away pretty quickly. They come and go pretty fast. So that's the reason why I got into the real estate stuff, is because I always want to have some kind of passive income or something that I could flow into. And then I ended up really liking it. And then the more I do that, the more options it gives me on the yachts and stuff, just because I know that there's always another avenue of things to do. Same like yourself, you've grown it into not just a yachting career. It's kind of a, you know, an all-encompassing, like, you could, once you're done, you can go coaching, and you can do, you know, all the courses and everything else and show people how to do it. And that breeds into a whole bunch of other things that you can apply that into other careers. And that's what I constantly tell people, is that, look, all the skills you're doing now apply to any job that you're doing. You know, all day long we're negotiating. You know, our time is very valuable, so we're optimizing all of that and everything. And what would you say is like some of the skills you've learned just by taking the leap and starting your coaching program?
Well, I really like what you were saying about how it gives you options, because at the beginning of this, you get tunnel vision, right? You've got the original idea. I'm going to help people get into yachting. But what happens is that, like you said, as the dominoes start going, you start opening up more opportunity. Then you suddenly have a big community. Then people are going, hey, actually, will you promote this one thing and I'll give you money for it? That also opens up ad revenue. And then it also starts breeding just other ideas, because at first I was like, oh, I'll coach people into yachting. And then people start coming to you naturally for other things, like, hey, I really need to study for this test for my officers. Can you help me with that? You create a product for that. I had a yacht owner that came to me, and he was trying to crew for a 31 meter. And he was like, hey, you know, I need someone to crew this yacht. Do you know of anyone that could do it? And at that point, I had a community, and I was like, well, hell, I could do it, right? I mean, I've got all the credentials that a lot of these crew agents have. Let's do it. And I started doing that as well. And it just showed me that once you start building something, you learn to get scrappy and do other things. And as long as you're not too fixed on like, oh, I can only do this one thing. Like you said, you take these skills that you've applied to creating that business, and now you got another stream of income that's coming. And just getting flexible.
Yeah, it's so many things that you never know where you're going to go when you take that leap, because once you start, it'll open up into many, many other avenues that you know, you never even thought possible or never even knew about. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And like you're saying, ad revenue, crew agents, you know, a lot of these things you don't need a license or certifications to do, but you do need the relationships. Like, you've built a great business based on these great relationships. You know, these relationships are, who knows where it's going to take you, you know, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, that's how I've gotten any of my good jobs. You know, it wasn't really from a crew agent, or it might have been a relationship with a crew agent, you know, and that's the same thing I found in the stuff I'm doing. So it's all about creating those avenues through those relationships, and it'll just keep getting bigger, because you're going to keep pushing. You know, what do you see as next for your you know, your future, in the near future and the far future, like you know, 5-10 years?
Well, the good thing about this is I built it so I could. At first, I was like, well, I like to imagine Super Yacht Sunday School is kind of like a funnel, right? So at the top of the
Yeah.
funnel, it's getting people into yachting, right? And we all know that there's a shit ton of people that get in, and then less and less people as they
Yeah.
drop off.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you had for every deckhand that gets in, how many captains you churn out, right? It'd probably have to be thousands and thousands to create one. So I want to create it, and so it's the whole journey, right? I help you get in, but then throughout that, there's licenses, there's different career counseling you might need. There's people that do I want to go on a small boat, a big boat, masterminds in terms of putting together, the captains of tomorrow or officers and things like that. Having just like I have like masterminds now with crew that are getting in, the crew that are at the beginning pushing each other. Same thing, just higher tier products and more specialized niche services for the people that are getting into that top bracket. Because probably for you, when I got into my first captain gig, there's so much that you don't know. Just because I got a license, I know how to drive the boat maybe, and even that was a push, right? Because it was a bigger boat.
You got the paper. You got the paper.
Yeah, but we all know that it's like what 10% of the job is driving. The other 90%, everything from managing the crew to managing the owner, the expenses, the accounting, even figuring out how to book dockage, like all those things at the beginning, you have to ask someone. Like we don't just know it. And I'd love to create products and services that are like that. Your yellow pages that give you everything you need. Your step by step. Here's your first day as captain. This is what you're going to be doing on a regular basis. This is what you need to do. X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's opened up the doors that now I see where I want to take this. I kind of want to recreate my journey throughout yachting, but make it so you don't have to go through all the headaches, the bumps, the stumble through it as much as I can. Basically, I was a guy that had no business getting into yachts because I never grew up on a boat. And I've gotten to where I am. Yeah. And I've gotten to where I am today. And I know there's other people that are coming behind me that are in the same situation. And just like I'm helping them find jobs faster or easier or a lot of different things than they would have. Same thing. I want them to have an easier time becoming an officer. I want them to have an easier time figuring out, okay, what's the visa that I need to get here and here, right? Like I want to make it so one day people go, man, like this yachting thing's pretty mapped out. It's like when you say you want to be a doctor and you look and you go, okay, well, you're going to go pre-med, then you're going to go here for med school, then you're going to do your residency. Like it's pretty mapped out. Whereas when you look at yachting, everyone's always just like, question mark? Like, where the hell do you end up?
Well, the thing is, too, is that with it being such a dynamic business, it's not like cut and dry with a lot of things. There's a lot of nuances that you kind of have to learn with experience, and like in any other career. But I know when I first started, there wasn't really like a lot of people wouldn't, other captains especially. I was fortunate that the first captain I worked for, he helped me with everything. But after I got my first captain's job, there weren't a lot of people or avenues to where people could teach you or learn. And if you did ask some of the older guys, they're like, well, you're just going to have to figure it out, and just like I did. And that's secrets and stuff. And I was like, well, man, we have charts. The world's been charted out for a long time. Like, people are living everywhere. None of this is new stuff. Like there's no interest. There's no real secrets or whatever. So what I did is I just ended up just following where they were going. One guy got really mad at me, but I was like, well, you didn't tell me, so I'll just go where you go. Wherever. It don't matter. It's not new. There were other boats there, so it's not like some forgotten hidden place or some secret or what have you. So that was kind of maybe I didn't make a few friends that day, but after that I decided that whenever somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them. I'm not going to hold back the information, because I know how it was when you're like, well, I don't know what to do, and I didn't have anybody. I had a couple people I could call, but if they didn't know the answer, then I just have to figure it out, and I didn't want that to happen to anybody else. So since then I've had about 5 first officers that are now captains, which I'm pretty proud of them. They've gone on, and hopefully they supersede everything that I've done.
Yeah.
They go way farther than I. That'd make me very happy. I'm not, I've always had the mindset of train that person out of train that person to take my job, because when they can, then I know that they can go on any vessel and go and do whatever they need to do. But as far as like your training program, it seems to be more of like showing your journey, and that seems to be quite common with social media stuff that resonates with a lot of people. Is it kind of a matter of like, if people see you, they're like, oh, well, I can do that too?
Yeah, I definitely think that's kind of where I'm going with it. I want people to look at it and go, oh, if he could do it, I could see myself in that, so I can do it too. And like you said, there's a few different schools of thought on how you can do it. Sometimes you can be like the guru or expert that everyone's like, wow, I can only dream of being like that.
Yeah.
And you'll influence some people, and some people will follow because they think you're so well knowledge that you're the only way. But I think, like you said, with social media nowadays, people are resonating much more with, hey, come along for the ride, or like, I'm not perfect, but this is what I did. Come learn from what I'm doing. And it just seems so much more easy to take that like small steps forward when someone's going with that approach. So that's kind of what I want it to be. I mean, yeah, some people, I'm a guru in some sense. Yeah, I mean, I am a guru, but you're still battling with that image as well. But it's more about, I did it, you can do it with me, let's do it together. If you have anything, I'll catch you along the way. It's not because I'm perfect, but it's because I've already walked that before. So that's the best way for you to learn, for someone that's right there. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about like recruitment agents and a lot of those really formal businesses. There's not that human element, right? There's no one walking the path with you. It's just someone saying, do this, why didn't you do that? And it's a lot less personal.
It's very transactional. It's a one and done. It's not a relationship type thing, like where you're, they're looking at it from a transactional point of view, where like, well, we place this person, that's it. We get the money, that's it. But if they're walking with you on your journey, they're going to see that. Hopefully that they can learn from your mistakes, which is an accelerator, because I know that's what I've done. I've been lucky enough to do, because in a lot of different segments of my life, I always try to be around people that have done things a lot further ahead than I have, so that I can, like same thing like when I was playing sports, basketball, I wanted to be on the best court. I didn't want to play on the scrub court. I wanted to be running with the top guys. Yeah, a lot of times you get destroyed, but hey, you get better. The scrub court, because I'm not going to get better if you're the best guy on the worst court. What does that mean? I didn't really. I always wonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I do love the documenting your journey and stuff, because I look at a lot of your stuff. I follow it because it's nice to see someone showing other people how to do these things, because it wasn't, social media when I started wasn't a thing, or a lot of things were kind of a best kept secret 25 years ago, and there's not really much, and a lot of that has changed. And there, social media we have to take with good and the bad. What do you see good and bad with social media, as far as what you've seen?
Well, social media it's a double-edged sword, because it was something that I didn't even really use myself that much, because I've always been I'm kind of in that interesting millennial age where I grew up to a certain age without using much technology, and then suddenly it was everywhere. So I kind of see both sides of the analog and the digital. But the good thing is that, like you said, we can pass information so quickly, right? I can disseminate to, I've got like 56,000 people that are following me. This is, whatever I'm reporting today, or come ride on this journey, or whatever it is. We can pass information really, really quickly, really easily. People can just click, suddenly learn a lot. But it also comes with the problem that people sometimes think that everything on social media is perfect, it's true, it's a reality, rather than, it's more of a movie, right? We're all curating what we're presenting. No one's showing, this is the worst part of my day. This is the worst part of this. I do have posts. Yeah. I do have posts where it's like, hey, this is the worst part of yachting. This is what you got to look out for. But at the end of the day, what do people love to click? Half naked, beautiful women, beautiful locations, like when it talks about money. So, you can select what you want to learn and what you want to take as truth, which can be really, really dangerous. Yeah. So it comes with a grain of salt, where we have accessibility to learn a lot more than we ever have. And that's the great thing. And that's what's awesome. People are DMing me all the time. People are instantly getting access to whatever it is that they need. But then, as you know, in yachting, we have a lot of people that are coming in, seeing this like uprise that we've had in social media. Because when I started, also, you really couldn't post much. I mean, there weren't any yachting influencers. I mean, you were still on strict NDA. The yachts themselves weren't even using it for chartering. So it was like this. You couldn't even say you had the job. I remember my first yachts, you couldn't mention the yacht's name. You couldn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And
that was what I started with. You're not allowed to say the boat's name. You're not allowed to wear the shirt off the boat. You're not, when you're in your downtime, you're not allowed to do that. You couldn't tell anybody where you're working, who you're working for, and now it's a whole different ball game. Some want to be promoted, and I know of some people I've worked for where they've paid large sums of money to scrape the internet to where nothing shows up when you search their name at all, and their entire family is not allowed to be on social media and stuff like that, and it's pretty interesting. I mean, but
yeah, it's interesting to see how it's changed. And I guess what I was going to tack on to that is just because of that, we do have a rise in people that now know about yachting. And, for better or for worse, the famous TV show has also opened the floodgates.
Definitely.
And, there's a lot of people that are coming to yachting that they haven't done their research, or they don't have as much clue, and they haven't really looked into what they're getting into. Because like we said at the beginning, well, we didn't have all the information either, but we really knew we wanted to do it because we're taking this giant leap. Now that it's more accessible, now that you think that's the dangerous part, because you don't actually know. And that's what the platform is about. And that's what I'm trying to do is, hey, we have more people coming in. Well, then we have even more of a need to show it and teach, because if we don't, then we're really going to have a problem on our hands.
Yeah, and it's good and bad that people can see you on the journey. It's like if they say, "Oh yeah, I can do that too," and they don't really think it through, and then they show up, that you see the kid show up in board shorts and flip flops and ripped up shirt, and it's like, "Yeah, I want to work here," and it's like, well, okay, okay, I guess But see, for me, I always like. Everybody gets a shot. So like the first thing, like if they show up at 7:00 in the morning, I tell them, all right, come get here or whatever, get with the chief officer. He'll tell you what to do. And you got to put those people through the grinder to make them realize that this is not all fun and games or whatever. They're going to be painting, varnishing, scrubbing, hot sun in the hole, it's going to be a lot of work. But that's the way but what I tell people, because I get asked all the time, how do I get started in it, and I just tell them, look, show up early, show up often, just keep showing up, keep working. And they say, well I showed up a bunch of times. I'm like, well, what time did you show up? Well, I got there around 1, and I'm like, well, 1:00 they're already working. You're kind of stopping their day. You got to show up early. Mm-hmm. 6, 7, you see anybody moving around, you start talking to them. And if you don't get something that day by 8:00, 9:00, you don't see anybody moving around, move on. Go somewhere else. But because if you keep showing up that same day early in the morning, it might put you in your first job just for being there, because you showed up every day and worked a whole day. And they might say, hey, come back if they think they think you did a full day's work, and they might need people, and that's just a matter of timing, really. And then if they know you I've hired people because I saw them on other boats. I said, you were over there, painting in the hot sun for 3 weeks, and I was there. And then like they ended up working with us, ended up being really good, and hopefully they've moved on to do things, but they were really hard workers. So it's not without hard work. People don't see the 12, 18 hours a day on charter, or days on end, or weeks on end, being away from family and friends and stuff like that, and missing holidays, birthdays. I can't count that high of how many special occasions I've missed. But it is what it is. What would you say is some of the downsides of all the things that you've seen throughout your career?
So the downsides of the actual job itself, like the negatives you'd say,
Yeah.
the downsides of yachting, I mean, it's funny because you can turn it almost into the interview question where what's your best strength? Let's say in this case, oh, it's the travel, but what's the biggest weakness? That, well, you're working for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's what some people don't get, is that we're here to help make the sunset, but for somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at times you might go to places that you're like, oh, I really want to go there, and you might not set foot ashore.
Yeah.
You might not get any time off.
The
You
funny
might,
thing is, that's a funny story because, like, usually you don't.
yeah,
I mean, the first 2 years in boating, I think we were doing 30 weeks of charter a year and stuff. And like, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I saw a lot of the places and dove and did all the stuff with the guests, but I think that most of the time I got off the boat was to go to the dumpster, throw away the trash.
yeah, the rubbish run. Yeah,
But we would
yeah,
we'd fight over who got to take out the trash because that was when you got to get off the boat for a minute.
yeah. Or who had to go do the emergency provision for the chef or run
Yeah.
them in?
Yeah, yeah. When I get ready to cycle out or whatever, I always wanted to go on a really big boat and just be the tender driver, like in the Med somewhere, and just drive people back and forth to shore and live on the tender. I don't have to really, I do the summer season and then I'm done.
Yeah, I always thought that would be the best job. Yeah, just be the tender driver.
Yeah, but people don't see, like we were talking about in the beginning. People don't see the work, but they see the success, and I think, oh, that's easy. I can do that, and then they show up, and it's a lot of work, like any other career. People forget all those the hard times and stuff like that come with it, like the being away, the missing the Christmases, and because if you're on a charter boat, you're not plan on not having any of those regular holidays.
Yeah. And also on top of that, it really it depends what you end up doing for the job or for your career. Like if you want to go and be on all the biggest, busiest charter boats, then you better be making a lot of tips, because obviously your hourly rate, if you're going to start dividing it out, is going to take a hit.
Yeah.
And then if you're on a really cush private boat, you might not work as much, but maybe you don't get paid as much. So you've got to make all these decisions in terms of what is right for you, because no two people walk the same path, and we're all motivated by different things. Some people want the location, some people want the position, some people want the money. But but yachting can be really lucrative. You can earn a lot of money, but it can also be a situation where you're not earning anywhere near as what you think is worth what you're putting in. So I mean, all those decisions have to be running in your head, and people don't think of that sometimes. And then the worst thing on top of that is the lifestyle creep, and just who are you hanging out with, because it's very easy to earn $10,000 and blow 15. And maybe to some people that are listening at home, they're like, oh, I wish I was earning $10,000. But again, if you think you're a guest and you party like a guest, that money isn't going to be as plentiful as a guest.
Yeah, they might be friendly, but they're not your friends. So you can't live like them, because that's their lifestyle, not yours. And that's one thing why I started doing what I do, because it bothers me when the younger crowd does this for 10 years and then they walk away with nothing, when they could have easily, within 5 years, set themselves up for a good platform for life. 10 years, you could definitely be pretty well set if you're a single person. Buy a few things in real estate, invest some money wisely, start a business on your own, like yourself while you're doing it, and use those as platforms, make those connections that are going to be everlasting, that'll take you to that next level. Because I've seen it a lot where people are complaining about being on the boats and they hate it and this and that, and then they're not doing anything about it. But that goes with a lot of different careers, and it's like, well, if you don't like it, there's plenty of options. I mean, I'm lucky enough, and you're lucky enough, we live in America where there's a virtually unlimited amount of options, so and all that stuff about greatest country in the world, that's relative to your culture and your likes and dislikes. But make no mistake, as far as like financial opportunity, there is no place else. I mean, I've tried to start in other countries, and you can start and fail multiple times. And there's so much out there, that people get a little bit maybe entitled, or maybe even just a little slighted because they don't know which way to go.
And it kind of goes back to what you were saying before too, that when you have, whether it's a business, investments, or whatever, you have options. And I can't tell you how many messages I get from people that they're like, hey, this is the situation on board. It's terrible. I can't leave. I'm financially dependent on this job, or we can't leave. I don't know what I would do. I can't afford to not be working for X amount of time. And whether you have investments, whether, this business, whatever, it gives you the opportunity to, when something doesn't align with whatever it is, your morals, or, you need a break, or you're burnt out or whatever, you can step away and you don't have to go, holy shit, my money is directly linked to only being on board this yacht. Because like you said, it's a matter of when, not if. And, you can do rotation. I mean, you can be a captain until you're, about to retire or whatever, but what are the numbers of how many people actually treat this like a typical 9 to 5, where they clock out at 65 with the savings and they go sit on their porch? Like, it's not many. So you need to have these things running in synchrony, because maybe you decide at 42, you meet the love of your life and you're like, hey, I'm done. I never want to go out to sea again. But if you haven't set anything else up for yourself, you're always going to have to go back out to sea. And, that's just not the tale for most of us.
No, and you see that happen quite a lot because people don't plan ahead. If myself having a wife and 2 kids and from a big family, like, life happens. If you don't protect yourself at all times and put something ahead for a rainy day, the rainy days come, whether you like it or not. They're there, and they will happen, and sometimes they keep coming, so don't depend on anyone else for your wherewithal or the safety of yourself and your family. You have to plan accordingly. One thing that I always tell the younger guys is, if you have money, you put some aside, but always have a time and a purpose. Like, hey, I'm going to be off the boats in 4 years. I'm going to have one house, or I'm going to have enough money to start a business, or I'm going to put 10,000 ahead to start this business online while I'm here. And I'll use my free time to do that instead of a bunch of other things and buying the new car, the new bag, the new whatever. I mean, I'm lucky because I've never been very materialistic. So I don't, for me, it's about my family and stuff. So 99% of my money goes to them and whatever they want to do. And the stuff I'm doing with real estate, it's more about them being able to do things and having income to where they can do things that they're passionate about. Like, I'm lucky to do things that I'm passionate about, and you're obviously, I see all the things that you're doing, that you're passionate about what you're doing with business and boats, and just passionate about showing other people and more coaching and giving people guidance and stuff. Because I get very excited when I help somebody get to that next level and stuff. It's like, the way I look like is we're all winning if you can help somebody get to that next level, because then they'll go and help somebody else. And is that what a lot of your program is about? Because I've been watching it quite a bit, and I see you really like and love helping people. It's not just about starting a business. That's great that you can obviously live off of this at some point, but you seem to really love helping other people get to that next level. Is that something that you're really passionate about?
Yeah, mentoring people and helping people get whatever it is that their goals are is definitely what motivates me, and it's also what I'm really excited about. And kind of what you were talking about before, seeing them do more than I did is also really, really cool and really exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like I've got one Stu that she just found a job. She's from California, and she just found a boat that's going up to Alaska, which I've never been to, and I think that's awesome. I was like, that's great. Not only your first season, you're doing something that most people don't do, but I've never even been there. Like, take photos, tell me how it is.
Let me know where to go.
Yeah, and it's cool. You almost get to live vicariously through people at the same time. Their excitement about things that you've already long forgotten about. Kind of, it's like having a kid, probably. I mean, I haven't had one, but it revitalizes you, and you get to see the world through them. Like the excitement, the the tears, all of that. It's human, and
Yeah.
it's really really cool to think that I'm helping people, and it's also, I'm not just teaching them how to play a sport or teaching them how to play an instrument. It's for some of them it's feeding their family now. For some of them
Yeah.
it's fulfilling an itch that they've always had. Maybe it's a passion they wanted to follow, whatever it is, or they hated their old life, and people that had like really dark past that are now seeing the light, like all of that. It's really really rewarding, and
Really
it's
is.
like you said too, it's become something that was much more than I ever knew. Right at the beginning, I knew it was going to help people. I didn't know how much I was going to be interfacing and all this, but it's been really really great, and I couldn't trade it for anything else. I really really like it.
I don't know if you've ever read this book. It's called The Go Giver.
No, I haven't read that one.
You should really read it. It's not a very long read, but it's about all the success this guy gets, but because he just gives people, and all the opportunities come to him, and it comes with all the gratitude and all those things. Just because knowing where we are, we get to give back, and the more you give, all that stuff just keeps coming and coming. And I know that's been true in my life. In mentioning the coaching and stuff, have you had a coach before? Have you ever tried that before?
Yeah, even what I'm doing right now, I mean, I have a coach that works with me to make sure I'm perfecting this, aligning it, looking at it from their lens, because, they're, let's say, 10, 15 years ahead, and they already have all of their knowledge. They can look and go, oh, yeah, this is probably where you should branch off to next. Oh, this is a common issue that I faced, right? All the same things and tactics I'm trying to give people is because it's also working with me, and I'm seeing how beneficial it is. Like you said, you can cut out so much time when you're working with someone that's already walked the path before you. And I can't recommend it enough, whether it's finance, whether it's opening your own business, whether it's a sport. Like you should get a coach. I mean, that's why athletes get coaches. That's why every sports team has a coach, because it makes sense to have someone looking from the top level that has more experience, more acknowledgement of what goes on, like just everything.
Yeah, and they can see what you don't see. I mean, the case in point was, Michael Jordan. He had a fitness coach. He had a mindset coach. He had, coach for everything. Golf coach. He had all these different coaches, and he was the best in the world. Even he had a coach. The coaches, the best coaches, always have coaches. Because I've had coaches and stuff, and done masterminds, and it's been so helpful to just be around those people that are, have done it before, and you learn from their mistakes. And then they also tell you when they see you making mistakes. And I've found that the best coaches are the ones that ask the best questions. Like there's problems that I thought through, but actually they didn't really help me think it through. They just kept asking me questions, and they're like, look, you had the answer already. I need to ask you the right questions. You need to find it, and I need to help you get to that point. And I thought that was, well, you could have saved me. We could have done this at the beginning.
I also find the accountability is also really good, because a lot of times we know what we need to do, or we have an idea of what we need to do, but for some reason, you're just putting it off, or something's just stopping you from doing it, or maybe you're even self-sabotaging. But when someone's going, hey, I know you need to do this. Let's set a deadline, or even just their presence of them going, hey, did you take a look at that thing you were talking about last week? It's just, oh fuck, I got to do it. It's like a parent,
every
right?
week. They're like, well, next week you better have hit these targets, and then they'll be like, well, why didn't you do it? And you're like, it doesn't really matter why. I had a coach say, well, it doesn't really matter. You just didn't do it. So. We're not going to keep revisiting this if you're just not going to do it. We all suffer from that mindset lapse where we don't have the procrastination that comes from self-doubt and imposter syndrome. And what I've realized is that you have to do that self-talk where you're like, well, I'm supposed to be here, so I have to make the best of it. Whether you're thinking about it, but if you do, definitely tell yourself, well, I'm not supposed to be here. You might just walk out of that room, and that there might have been that one person in that room that would have changed everything. That one call, that one text, that one anything. It just goes to show that sometimes you just need somebody else to look at it in a different way, that different set of eyes. We do that on the boats a lot, where we all get stuck, and we're very team oriented. There's a lot of times where I'm looking at something, hey, come take a look at this. Maybe I'm missing something. And I think as a leader on your team and our team and everything, you have to be able to show that you as the team leader, that you make mistakes, and you don't, there are vulnerabilities, then the communication, then when they see that, hey, it's okay to make a mistake and learn from it, rather than you made a mistake and just grill them and punish them and do all that stuff, then they're going to be afraid to take the chance. They're going to be afraid to do the things, and as far as like, what have been the things on the yachts that have helped you in your business?
As in, like, what have I had happen to me, or what mentors have I had,
like,
or whatever, that
what
have
skills,
helped me?
what skills, like, say for instance, the communication that you do, is it helped you, in your building out your courses and, dealing with the clients and stuff like that,
Oh, that's a good question, because I know for me, a lot of my influence is I've come from an engineering background, so like tech and all of that was always innate. I always felt like, man, I would love to merge tech with yachting, because I always felt like the industry was very outdated in some ways. Not a lot of movement on that front. So that's what got me going there. And then obviously going through yachting, I mean, all the stories and everything that I've lived through is what's bled into the course. But I mean, I've had some really good mentors along the way that, helped lifted me up. And, whether it was pulling me into the bridge when I was still a deckhand and showing me how to do chart corrections, or trying to explain concepts to me, captains that let me take the wheel and while they were there, and they would tell me stories, or just like exposing me to things always ahead of where I was at, that made me want to keep progressing. Yeah, exactly. Challenging me to keep moving forward. Whether it was, I was really lucky. I had mentors, I had people that cared about my career. And I think that was the biggest influence for me, because I knew that when I talked to so many other people, that wasn't the case for them. That I heard so many people that had the opposite. They were saying, hey, I'm never allowed to do this. I'm not allowed to do anything but wipe the tender. I'm not allowed to ask for this. And it seemed like there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on.
That is definitely true. I've seen that. I've been on boats where I was temporary, and I was there, and I've asked the other crew, like, well, do you not know how to pull the anchor? Do you know how to, and I'm very big on cross training, like you want to have everybody on the boat be able to drop the anchor, be able to, at least drive the tender, at least get it home. If somebody gets injured, you got to at least get it close to the boat, or what have you, to where, know where you are. It's situations like that, because, everybody needs to know. They don't need to know how to do all the other jobs on the boat, or all the jobs, but they need to at least be aware of how they all kind of work, and know that they can get the other people, and it's a team effort. So if you get so, the blinders on of only doing your job, I mean, you really miss out on the big picture, and you really don't see. There's where you being on the boat can make you very distant, and you feel like you're not really part of a team. Whereas if you're actually helping other people do their jobs, you learn. And then when you're on charter, there's always people up and people are down, that we can all help each other. If hey, I'll get that for you. You take an extra hour, if you give somebody an extra hour, that's like gold. That if you get an hour, or 20 minutes, hey, just step outside for a minute and, breathe some fresh air, sit for a minute, because you could really change somebody, their whole, they could be going down and getting really burnt. But if you give them that 15 minutes, that might be just what they need, and we've all been there. It's a grind sometimes. I mean, what I keep telling people is that a lot of these skills, they all will transfer over to, the negotiating contracts, dealing with contractors, to, we're talking to people at a high level of net worth. So if you're able to do that and not afraid to do that, think how easily or how great that is to transfer into any business.
Yeah.
because we're a high level. We are in the service business, and our service, and I'd argue that probably some of the best in the world as far as like what we do, because our timeline is yesterday, right? Like
Right.
before they get done asking the question, we need to have already had it done.
Yeah, especially because of the fact that they're not with us all the time. Like we're not house staff that's there for
Yeah.
the next 6 months. It's like, hey, this trip's only a week, so everything has to go perfect because there is no recovery. There's no
No.
extra innings.
There's some things you cannot recover from either.
Yeah.
That's if you mess up, or give somebody something as a food allergy, or just you give them the wrong thing when they've asked for it specific times and stuff. It's not like it's a Denny's where you can have the coffee sent back.
Yeah, that's true. And the expectations for when someone's paying, well, some of these charter boats can be even a couple million per week, it's everything in between.
And the people that own the vessels, they're paying a lot all the time, for us to be there, and so ours, I tell people, because there's a lot of boats I've gotten on where like they go full out on the charter, but when the owners are there, they kind of back off a little bit.
They take it slack. Yeah.
That is unacceptable to me. These guys are paying you 365 days a year. You better be on point like all day, every day. If he asks or she asks, you better be on it, because they're nice enough to charter the boat so you could make some extra money. So you better make sure that their time is the best time. And they want to stay. And they get upset when the owners want to stay a little bit longer. It's like, well, good. It's their boat. They can stay as long as they want. They don't.
It's job security too.
They don't have to go home, but tough luck. You did such a great job. They love it here.
Yeah, and it's just short-sighted if you don't see it that way, because of the fact that let's say a really good charter tip is 20% of the charter price, which is just a fraction compared to the running cost of that boat every year. So the guy that's loosening that wallet and consistently paying millions and millions and millions, how can that person get the short end of the stick when that other group left $50K, $100K that's cut up, and we all divvy it up, and by the time you look at it, it's just
10 people, and sure, you might make a larger percentage of your wages with you might make a certain percentage, but it doesn't supersede what you're actually getting paid. Unless you're on the lower tier, it might be a lot more, but usually if you're the deckhand or the third, fourth, fifth stew, you're probably just grinding. Like you're 16, 18 hours a day. Your day doesn't stop. You're
right.
You go to sleep, but even with the owners coming on, you should be thankful that, hey, you're there. You could be other places. We're living less than the 1/10 of 1%. We're living where they live.
Yeah.
And we're going all the places that they go. So, you should be a little more thankful. It's easy for people to get entitled and stuff, because I see it a lot nowadays. And I saw it when I was younger too. I mean, the older generation said the same thing about us that we say about them. Oh, they don't know. They're
right.
It's not like I'm going out and plowing the North 40 or anything like that, or milking the cow, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not living somewhere where I don't have running water or electricity. So, I have no complaints. I'm just thankful. But, well, this has been really great. For people that don't know who you are and would like to know more about what you do, how would they find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
One of the best ways to connect with me on social media, you can go Instagram, you can go TikTok, always Super Yacht Sunday School. And if you go to superyachtsundayschool.com, you'll see in the top right corner, I've got a free masterclass. If you're thinking about yachting, if you're not sure what the steps are, how much you can make, all those questions that everyone always asks, in just a quick 45-minute video, it'll bash out everything that you need to know and show you what steps you need to follow to find your first job. So come chat with me anytime. I answer every DM. And if you've got any questions about yachting, I'm here.
Man, well, this has been really great. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. And I know you got a busy schedule going ahead. So appreciate you coming here. Thank you, Hugo. This is the Yacht Captain Investor Podcast, reminding you that the best investment you can make is in yourself. Thanks, guys.